Alright, welcome back to the vlog. Just wanted to touch upon some subjects or topics. What do I have? What does the Green Cyborg have on his list of topics for the month of May and June? Okay, here it goes. I actually wrote it down. Cycle to the sun. Other things that I forgot to include about the 200 miles ride that I completed on Easter Sunday. Dick Evans Memorial Road Race, the 112 mile, which is the 112 mile race around the island of Oahu. Climbing, diet and nutrition, and consistency. So topic number 1, Cycle to the Sun. That is coming up on June 24th, and that's on Maui in the town of Paia, which goes all the way up to the summit of Mount Haleakala for 36 miles, and it's a total of 10,014 feet elevation gain. I did that in the past in a little over 5 hours, 5 hours and 24 minutes, something like that. So hopefully this time around I can do it in something like 5 hours and 15 minutes or 5 hours and 10 minutes. I have better gear ratios on my bike this time around. The race entrance costs $200 for the Kama'aina rate if you're a Hawaii resident. And why it's fun, it is the highest paved climb on the planet Earth. And it has a racer head count cap off of 200 riders. Yeah, so I gotta start climbing some more. Alright, so recap on the 200 miles ride on Easter Sunday that I did. So one thing I forgot to include was my cycling coach had let me know that because 200 miles is such a long way to ride, I should also think about supplementing iron, B12, B complex, vitamins, vitamin C, I think he also said calcium. I have to double check. But I forgot the calcium. But I did supplement the other vitamins on the halfway point, the 120-mile halfway point of the ride, which worked really well. And as well as on the 120-mile marker, I also took Tylenol extra strength, 500 milligrams. I wouldn't advise taking painkillers during a race or during a high intensity effort, because you could definitely hurt yourself by not having that pain trigger to your brain working as it normally would. But because the 200 miles ride was not at a very high intensity, it was just getting the distance done at a long slow distance type of way, conversational pace. That's why it was, to me, it was okay to take Tylenol. And then at the end of the ride, we also took ibuprofen. Ibuprofen 200 milligrams for the inflammation. Of course, riding 200 miles, certain things will get inflamed slightly. What else? Okay, Dick Evans Memorial Road Race. That is the 112-mile race around the island of Oahu, and that is usually in September, either the last Sunday of August or the first Sunday of September, so that it doesn't conflict with the Honolulu Century Ride. And I'm going for that one again this year. I did it 2 years in the past. My first one was in 2013, and I did 2014, and I took 2015 and 16 off. Got hit by a car 2 years ago, which screwed up my training for a while. What else? Yeah, so that's why I do island rides around the island to get into that zone of riding beyond 100 miles and being able to sprint after the 100 miles ride through the finish line and actually have a fun race. Yeah, that's Oahu's big time road race, Dick Evans Memorial Road Race. Okay, so next topic, climbing. I gotta start climbing more. As you know, all my bikes have 11:36 gear ratio with a SRAM PG 1030 cassette on there. Even though some of my bikes have SRAM, some of my bikes have Shimano. I use the same cassette, 10-speed 1136 across the board for all 3 of my wheels. I have 4 wheel sets. My training wheel set on the trainer, I just use whatever old cassette I can find, because you only use a certain amount of gears on the turbo trainer anyway. But real world application, I use 1136 because it works for me in the off season, mid season, and on season. I feel like I have all the gears that I would ever need, plus maybe a little bit more. And I like the feeling of having the gears to push me to where I want to go any time of the year. Okay, next topic, diet and nutrition. So, a lot of beans. This is black beans and vegetarian beans right here, as you saw, as well as a little bit of wheat bread for some carbohydrates, and I'll have some greens later as well. So beans, high in fiber, high in protein, high in iron, and you can add sauces or flavorings to them, or salt it or pepper it as you see fit. Sorry, my camera's tilting. One thing to be aware though, beans will give you gas, so ease into the beans when you first start off. But beans, great way to feel satiated and get the protein you need without eating a lot of animal-based products. Yes, I'm vegan, but I don't want to go there. If you eat meat, good on you. But I'm just giving you another alternative, not saying your way is wrong, my way is right. It's all personal preference. I also do it because I don't like killing animals. Okay, next topic. Or same topic. Okay, hydration. I drink coconut water pretty often. I'd say I have one of these maybe at least once a week or twice a week, depending on how hot the weather is. If I'm really sweating a lot, because this is Hawaii, this is the tropics, it's humid, it's hot, you will sweat. I'll drink more of these, especially if I'm gonna bike, then I'll pre-hydrate. I am a heavy sweater on the bike, so I pre-hydrate so that I feel topped off when I get on the bike. You don't have to use this brand. I just like this brand, and just happens to be the brand that I purchased right before this video. Whatever you do, don't confuse coconut water with coconut juice or coconut milk. Those are all three different things. Coconut water is the best for hydration. I actually like it more than Gatorade, and if you saw in a couple of my previous vlogs, I'll actually have coconut water during rides, mid-rides, if I go to a 7-Eleven. Okay, moving on. Consistency. So, if you're new to cycling, you might be thinking, why did I do 200 miles? Or if you're new to this channel, you might be thinking, why did I ride 200 miles? Why am I going to ride 100 miles? Why am I going to race 112 miles? And should I have all my rides 100 miles or 200 miles, since I was able to complete 200 miles once or 100 miles once? The answer is yes and no. It really depends on what you're training for. If your goal is to just get in mileage, or if you're doing something like Race Across America or IndyPac, where you'd have to ride big Ks, big miles for days on end, you would have to get used to riding long distances with lesser intensity, so long, slow distance. So the 200 miles I've built up over the years to be able to ride 200 miles. I didn't just wake up one day in April and say, hey, I want to ride 200 miles. I've been riding 100-mile rides for years, and 140-mile rides for years, and attempted 200 miles in the past. So I had a better understanding of what I was getting into. So whatever event or personal goal you're trying to attempt, or trying to complete, you have to tailor your training plan to that goal. If your goal is just to be really fast in criteriums, then don't do long slow distance. Maybe do long slow distance on a recovery day, but don't do long slow distance for your normal training. You want to be doing high intensity intervals if you're going to do criterium stuff. Criteriums are not my cup of tea. They usually have a lot of crashes, especially if you're trying to go with the front pack or the group B pack. It gets really dicey, really close together, especially on the 90-degree turns. It's not my thing. I like long endurance things. That's why even for triathlon, I would recommend doing Olympic distance over sprint distance. Or maybe in your country it might be called international distance over sprint distance, just because the pack is more spread out. And if you know cycling, you know that a lot of times cyclists crash into other cyclists. It's not always pedestrians or cyclists crashing into cars. So that's one thing to think about. Yeah, so consistency. It's better to ride 1 hour a day for 5 days than it is to ride 5 hours in 1 day for the whole week. If you absolutely are crunched for time, then of course do all your riding on the weekend like a weekend warrior. But overall consistency is better. And my coach had informed me that the new studies have shown to get those marginal gains, it's actually better to ride 6 days a week with one day off with varying intensities. So of course it's not good to go high intensity every single time you go out on the bike. You don't have to hammer yourself all the way into the ground. Some days make it a spin day following a high intensity day. Some days make it a long slow distance. Some days do intervals. Some days do short days with sprint work. And when you mix that all together before your event, you'll be feeling great. As long as you just don't stick to one type of cycling, you should be okay. But of course, if the event you're gonna do has a lot of hills, you're gonna want to do hills. If the event is flat and long, you're gonna want to do long slow distance. But hills definitely help. The discipline of hills helps the flatland riding every day of the week. That's all of the topics for today. This video is getting kind of long. Thank you for watching. It is Tuesday, May 9th, 2017. This is the end of the vlog.